The Great Hall of Station Orion 7 was the largest room Park Taiho had ever seen. It stretched so far that clouds formed near the ceiling. Lights from 100 different worlds glowed in every color. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers and something burning. Taiho stood at the center of the hall. He was a small man with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Behind him stood his aide, Lieutenant Kim Yuna, a young woman with short black hair and the posture of a soldier. Around them rose the seats of the Galactic Assembly. 12 species sat in judgment. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no bodies at all, just floating shapes of light and gas. They looked down at the two humans like giants looking at insects. The Volari were the worst. They sat in the highest seats, their bodies tall and beautiful. Their skin looked like glass filled with moving light. When they spoke, their voices made music. They were the oldest species in the galaxy. They had built empires when humans still lived in caves. Their speaker was named Kethis. He stood 20 feet tall, and his crystal skin glowed blue with cold amusement. "We have reviewed Earth's request for full membership," Kethis said. His voice echoed through the hall like bells ringing. "We have studied your species carefully." He waved one long arm, and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed a human body, spinning slowly. Numbers and words surrounded it in a dozen alien languages. "Your species lives for less than 100 years, Kethis continued. "The average citizen of the assembly lives for 3,000. Your bones break easily. Your skin offers no protection. You cannot survive in vacuum. You cannot breathe underwater. You have no natural weapons." Laughter came from the seats above. Not polite laughter. Real laughter. The kind of laughter people make when they see something weak and foolish. Taiho kept his face still. He had prepared for this. "Your muscles are weak compared to every other species," Kethis went on. "You cannot see in darkness. You cannot hear sounds beyond a small range. You have no telepathy, no natural armor, no venom, no ability to regenerate lost limbs." More laughter. A creature that looked like a bear made of stone slapped its knee. A being of pure energy flickered in what might have been amusement. Behind Taiho, Yuna's hands became fists. She had fought in 3 wars. She had watched friends die. She had killed enemies in the dark and the cold and the fire. And these aliens laughed at her species like they were children. "We find," Kethis said, and his voice became formal and final, "that humanity does not meet the requirements for full membership in the Galactic Assembly." The laughter stopped. The silence was worse. "However," Kethis continued, "we are not cruel. We will grant humanity the status of protected species. You will be cared for." Taiho understood what this meant. Humans would be pets. They would be allowed to live in a small corner of the galaxy, watched and managed and never taken seriously. "We thank the Assembly for its consideration," Taiho said. His voice was calm and steady. "May I ask one question?" Kethis tilted his head. His crystal face showed no expression, but his posture suggested he was enjoying this. "You may. What would change your minds?" Laughter again. Kethis spread his arms wide. "Show us something worthy, little human. Show us strength. Show us power. Show us something that makes you more than meat and bone." He paused. "Show us something that makes the galaxy fear you." Taiho nodded slowly. "I understand. Thank you for your honesty." He turned and walked toward the exit. Yuna followed, her back straight and her eyes burning. Behind them, the aliens resumed their other business, already forgetting the humans who had wasted their time. They were almost at the door when Taiho's communicator buzzed. He looked at the screen. His face, which had stayed calm through all the mockery, suddenly changed. Yuna saw it. "Sir, what is it?" Taiho did not answer right away. He stood very still, reading the message again and again. "It is time," he finally said. "Earth Command confirms it. The sensors picked up the signal 3 hours ago." "What signal?" Taiho turned to look back at the Great Hall. All those powerful species, so confident in their strength, so sure that they understood the universe. "The Hollow have awakened," he said. The words were quiet, but somehow they carried. The stone bear stopped talking, the energy being stopped flickering. Kethis, high in his seat, turned to look at the humans. Silence fell over the entire hall. The Hollow. Every species knew that name. Every species feared it. They were the monsters that came from the dark between stars. They ate worlds. They destroyed empires. 6,000 years ago, they had erased an entire civilization from history. And now they were back. Taiho looked at Kethis. For just a moment, their eyes met. "It seems," Taiho said, "that the galaxy will need something more than crystal skin and long lives very soon." He turned and walked away. This time, no one laughed. In the Great Hall of Station Orion 7, 12 species sat in sudden fear. They had spent years building weapons and ships and armies. They had conquered stars and tamed planets, but none of them had ever found a way to stop the Hollow. None of them knew that Earth had been preparing for this moment for 200 years. None of them knew what humans had been willing to become. Taiho smiled as he walked through the station's long corridors. It was not a happy smile. "Contact Fennery Base," he told Yuna. "Tell them to wake up our monster." 2 days passed. In that time, 3 worlds died. The news came fast and terrible. Colony Vex 4, gone. Research Station Omni, gone. The trading hub of Melos Prime, gone. Billions of lives, erased in hours. The Hollow did not negotiate. They did not warn. They simply arrived from the darkness between stars, and everything they touched became nothing. Station Orion 7 became a place of panic. Ships fled in every direction. Species that had been enemies for centuries now huddled together, sharing fear like a disease. The Great Hall that had echoed with laughter now echoed with screaming. Kethis stood at the center of it all. His crystal skin had lost its glow. He looked smaller somehow, older, as he stared at the holographic map showing the Hollow's path. The path led directly to the Volari homeworld. "We must evacuate," one delegate shouted. "Save who we can." "There is nowhere to run," another replied. "They are everywhere. They are everything." "Our weapons do nothing," said a third. "They adapt. They learn. Whatever we use against them, they absorb and become stronger." Kethis raised his hand for silence. His voice, once so musical and proud, now shook. "We have the combined military strength of 12 species," he said. "We have ships that can crack planets. We have weapons that can burn stars. Surely we can." "The Mordathi had more," someone interrupted. It was a small creature, ancient and wrinkled, floating in a sphere of water. The Mordathi had the greatest fleet in galactic history. The Hollow ate them in a single year. Every ship, every world, every person, even their name was almost lost. Silence fell. The Mordathi, the ghost story that every species told their children. The empire that vanished so completely that only ruins remained. "Then what do we do?" Kethis asked. His voice was barely a whisper. The door to the Great Hall opened. Park Taiho walked in. He looked exactly the same as before. Small, gray-haired, tired, but something in his eyes had changed. 2 days ago, those eyes had accepted humiliation with patience. Now they held something else. Knowledge, certainty, and perhaps a little bit of pity. "We have a solution," Taiho said. The hall erupted in noise. Some laughed, but the laughter was desperate, not cruel. Some shouted in anger. Some simply stared. Kethis held up his hand for silence again. "You," he said to Taiho, "your species cannot even survive your own sun without protection. What could you possibly offer?" Taiho smiled. It was a small, sad smile. "May I show you something?" He asked Dot. Without waiting for an answer, he activated his communicator. A hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed a battlefield. Humans were fighting, not in comfortable conditions, not in safe environments. They were fighting in places that should have killed them instantly. Ships on fire, the crew still shooting as flames ate their bodies. Frozen moons where soldiers walked through temperatures that would crack crystal. Poisoned worlds where every breath was acid dot, and in every image, the humans kept fighting. Long past reason. Long past hope. Long past the point where any sane creature would surrender. "What is this?" Kethis asked. "This is what you did not see," Taiho replied. "You looked at our bodies and saw weakness. You counted our years and saw brevity. But you did not look at our hearts. You did not count our will." He changed the image. Now it showed a laboratory. Scientists in protective suits worked around something dark and terrible. Something that moved even though it was clearly dead. 200 years ago, Taiho said, our people found something on Mars, buried deep beneath the red sand. Old beyond imagining. The remains of a hollow. The hall went completely silent. We studied it. We learned from it. And we did something that no other species has ever done. Taiho paused. We found volunteers willing to merge with it. The image changed again. Now it showed a man lying on a medical table. His body was covered in dark veins. His eyes were open, but they reflected no light. And his shadow somehow moved differently than his body. Project Fenrir, Taiho said. Named after a monster from our old stories. We took the flesh of the hollow and we combined it with human soldiers. We created something new. Something that has the hunger of the monsters and the will of humanity. Kethis stepped back. His crystal face showed something it had never shown before. Fear. You made yourselves into them? No, Taiho said. We made them into us. He turned off the hologram and looked around the hall. Every eye, every sensor, every form of perception was focused on him. Here is our offer, he said. Full membership in the Galactic Assembly. All previous insults forgotten. Complete military authority in this sector until the threat is ended. And in return? Kethis asked. In return, we will release our weapon. We will send our monster to face your monster. And we will show the Hollow something they have never experienced in their entire existence. What is that? Taiho's smile grew wider. It was not a nice smile. Fear, he said. We will teach them what it means to be afraid. The vote took less than a minute. Every species agreed. They had no choice. As Taiho walked out of the hall, Kethis called after him. Human, the Valari said. The creature you have made. This Fenrir. Is it still one of you? Is it still human? Taiho stopped. He did not turn around. He was a good man once, Taiho said quietly. He had a family. He had dreams. He gave them all up because we needed a weapon. He paused. Yes, he is still human. That is what makes him so dangerous. He walked away, leaving the great hall in silence. Somewhere in the darkness of space, a ship began its journey toward the Valari homeworld. Inside it, something that used to be Captain Hondo Yun opened its eyes. It was time to hunt. The Valari homeworld was beautiful. Blue oceans sparkled under three suns. Crystal cities rose from the land like frozen music. For 50,000 years, the Valari had built their civilization here, layer upon layer of art and science and wonder. Now death filled the sky. The hollow swarm blocked out the stars. Millions of them, each one a nightmare of teeth and claws and hunger. They moved like oil in water, flowing and shifting and consuming. Every ship that approached them vanished. Every weapon that struck them was absorbed. Cephas stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching his world prepare to die. All fleets, fire everything, he ordered. Thousands of ships unleashed their weapons. Beams of light that could cut through planets. Missiles that burned hotter than stars. Energy fields that could tear apart matter itself. The hollow swarm rippled. Some of them died, but for every one that fell, 100 more seemed to grow from the darkness. And the ones that survived began to change, their bodies shifting to resist the very weapons that had hurt them. "They are adapting," a Valari officer reported. His voice was empty of hope. "Our weapons are losing effect." Cephas closed his eyes. 50,000 years. All of it would end today. Then, a new signal appeared on the sensors. A small ship, coming from the direction of Station Orion 7. Human design. Barely larger than a shuttle. "What is that?" Cephas asked. "The humans say it is their weapon," the officer replied. "One ship, one passenger." Cephas felt anger rise in his chest. This was the solution? This tiny vessel? This pathetic offering from the weakest species in the galaxy? "Open a channel," he commanded. The screen flickered. A human face appeared. A man in his 30s with calm eyes and an ordinary face. He wore no uniform, just simple black clothes. He looked bored. "I am Captain Hando Yun," the man said. "I am here to help." Cephas wanted to scream. Instead, he kept his voice cold. "One man against millions of hollow. Is this a joke to your species?" Hando Yun did not smile. He did not frown. His face showed nothing at all. "Watch," he said. The small ship opened its bay doors. Hando Yun stepped out into space without a suit. Without protection. Without anything between his soft human flesh and the killing vacuum. Cephas expected to see the human's body explode. He expected blood and death and the failure of humanity's final promise. Instead, he saw something that would haunt his dreams forever. Hando Yun did not die. His body shook for a moment, and then it began to change. It started slowly. Dark lines spread across his skin like cracks in glass. His eyes turned black, completely black, without whites or color. His mouth opened, and his teeth grew longer, sharper, wrong. Then it happened faster. His body stretched and twisted. Bones broke and reformed. Muscles tore and grew back larger. His skin turned dark and hard, like armor made of shadow. Tendrils erupted from his spine, each one tipped with something that looked like a blade and a mouth combined. He grew. 10 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet, 1,000 feet. Within minutes, Hando Yun had become something the size of a battleship. Something made of darkness and hunger and teeth. Something that looked like a hollow, but different. Wrong in a new way. And then it roared. The sound carried through space in ways that sound should not carry. It vibrated through hulls and bodies and minds. Every creature that heard it felt something ancient wake up inside them. The instinct that prey feels when a predator is near. But this time, the hollow were the prey. The thing that had been Hando Yun launched itself toward the swarm. On the command deck, Cephas and his crew watched in silence. They had seen terrible things in their long lives. They had witnessed the deaths of stars and the birth of black holes. They thought nothing could surprise them anymore. They were wrong. The creature hit the hollow swarm like a knife through water. It did not just attack. It hunted. It tore through the monsters with claws that dripped darkness. It bit through their bodies with jaws that seemed to grow larger with each kill. And the hollow, for the first time in their ancient existence, did something new. they tried to run. "They are retreating," the officer whispered. His voice shook with disbelief. "The Hollow are afraid." Kethis could not speak. He watched as the creature chased the swarm through space, catching them, destroying them, eating them. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter. What has humanity done? He finally managed to say, "No one answered." No one could dot in the darkness between the flagship and the dying swarm. The thing that had been Captain Han Do-yoon continued its hunt. Deep inside the monster, in a small place that still remembered being human, Do-hyun felt the hunger of the hollow tissue trying to take control. He pushed it back. He remembered his mother's face, his father's voice, the taste of food from home, the feeling of rain on his skin. He held on to these memories like anchors. The monster wanted to consume everything. The human inside wanted to save something. For now, they were the same goal dot, so Han Do-yoon kept hunting. And the galaxy watched a new kind of nightmare being born. Hours passed like years. On the Valari flagship, Lieutenant Kim Yuna stood at a monitoring station. Watching screens filled with data she barely understood. Next to her stood two other humans, Sergeant Choi Yoonji, a woman with silver streaks in her black hair and scars on her hands, and Corporal Baek Sun-ho, barely 20 years old with eyes that looked much older. All three of them carried the same darkness in their blood. All three of them were Fenrir soldiers, waiting for their turn to become monsters. But today belonged to Han Do-hyun. His heart rate is at 300 beats per minute. Yuna reported to Ambassador Park Tae-ho, who stood behind her. His body temperature keeps changing. One moment it is freezing. The next moment it is hotter than fire. I do not know how he is still alive. He is not alive in the way we understand, Tae-ho replied quietly. He is something else now. On the main screen, they watched the battle continue. The creature that had been Do-hyun moved through the hollow swarm like a shark through fish. He had destroyed hundreds of thousands of them. The space around the Valari homeworld was filled with the broken pieces of monsters, but millions more remained, and they were learning. Sergeant Choi leaned forward, her eyes narrow. "Look at their movement pattern. It is changing." She was right. At first, the hollow had fled randomly, scattering in all directions. Now they moved together. Groups of them circled around, trying to surround Do-hyun. Others sacrificed themselves, throwing their bodies at him to slow him down. "They are communicating," Yuna said. "They should not be able to do that. The hollow do not think. They only consume." "They are learning from him," Tae-ho said. His voice was heavy. "When they eat something, they absorb its knowledge, its memories, its skills. Every time Do-hyun destroys one of them, pieces of him spread through the swarm." Corporal Baek looked sick. "Then every time he wins, he makes them stronger." Yes, on the screen the hollow changed their strategy again. Thousands of them suddenly stopped fighting. Instead, they began to merge. Their bodies flowed together like water, combining into something larger, something that matched Do-hyun's size. A hollow the size of a moon rose from the swarm. It had no face, no eyes, just endless teeth and hunger given form. "They made their own monster," Choi whispered. The two giants crashed together. The impact sent shockwaves through space that rocked every ship in the area. The Valari flagship shook so hard that people fell to the ground. Yuna gripped her station and kept watching. On the screen, Do-hyun and the giant hollow tore at each other. Dark blood filled the void. Pieces of both creatures floated away, each piece still moving, still hungry. "His vital signs are failing," Yuna reported. "The integration is becoming unstable. If this continues, he will lose control of the hollow tissue inside him. And then," Baek asked, "then he becomes just another hollow. And we lose." Tae-ho closed his eyes. He had known Han Do-yoon before the program. A good soldier. A quiet man who liked poetry and cooking. A man who had volunteered to become a weapon because someone had to. Is there anything we can do? Kethis asked. The Valari leader had joined them at the monitoring station, his crystal body dim with exhaustion and fear. We could send in the rest of the Fenrir team, Taiho said. But if Do-yoon loses control while they are out there, we all become monsters together, Choi finished. She did not sound afraid. She sounded almost curious. On the screen, the battle continued. Do-yoon was winning, slowly tearing apart the giant hollow piece by piece. But each victory cost him. His form became less stable, shifting and changing in ways that looked painful. Then the swarm did something none of them expected. They stopped fighting completely. The remaining millions of hollow pulled back, away from Do-yoon, away from the planet. They formed a massive ring in space, their bodies touching, connecting, becoming one organism. What are they doing? Kethis asked. Yuna studied the readings. Her face went pale. They are building something. Using their own bodies as material, she looked at Taiho. It is a trap. They have been watching how Do-yoon fights, how he moves, what hurts him. They are creating a prison designed specifically for him. On the screen, the ring of hollow began to collapse inward, moving toward Do-yoon from all directions at once. He tried to flee, but they were everywhere. He tried to fight, but there were too many. The ring closed around him like a fist, then it sealed shut. Inside the living prison, Do-yoon vanished from their sensors. The screen showed only the massive ball of hollow flesh, pulsing and growing as more of the swarm joined it. We have lost contact, Yuna said. Her voice cracked. His vital signs. I cannot read them anymore. Silence filled the command deck. Valarian humans stood together, watching the trap that held their only hope. Sergeant Choi stepped forward. Send us in. Taiho shook his head. If he is already lost, then we die fighting. Choi's voice was hard as stone. That is what we signed up for. That is what it means to be human. Before Taiho could answer, something happened on the screen. The ball of hollow flesh shook. A light appeared inside it, burning through the darkness. The swarm around the prison began to scream, a sound that carried through the void and into every ship. His vital signs, Yuna shouted. They are back. They are stronger than before. The prison cracked out, then it shattered. Do-yoon burst out of the trap, larger than before, darker than before, but still fighting, still hunting, still human enough to refuse to give up Dad, and for the first time, the hollow did not just run. They fled. The entire remaining swarm turned and dove into the darkness between stars, moving faster than anything had ever moved before. They left behind their dead, their wounded, their trap. They left behind everything except their fear. In the silence that followed, Corporal Beak spoke. Did we just win? No one answered. Because they all knew the truth. This was not a victory. This was a warning shot. The hollow would return. They always did. But now, they would return with the knowledge of how to fight something that scared them. The next battle would be worse. The hollow did not stay gone for long. 3 days after they fled, the sensors detected them gathering in the dark space beyond the Valari system. Millions of them, combining and changing and preparing. They had tasted defeat for the first time in their ancient existence. Now they were hungry for revenge. On the flagship, Captain Han Do-hyun floated in a medical tank filled with dark liquid. His body looked almost human again, but shadows moved under his skin like living things. His eyes were closed, but everyone could feel that he was awake. Lieutenant Yuna stood by the tank, reading his vital signs. They made no sense. His heart beat at different speeds in different parts of his body. His blood moved in patterns that should have killed him. He was alive only because the word alive did not really apply to him anymore. The Hollow are building something new, she told him through the communication link. Our sensors cannot identify it, but it is massive. Larger than anything we have seen before. Don opened his eyes. They were still dark, still wrong, but something human looked out from behind them. I know, he said. His voice sounded like two people speaking at once. I can feel them. When I destroyed so many of them, pieces of me spread through their collective. We are connected now. Can you stop them again? Do-hyun did not answer for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was tired. Last time, I surprised them. This time, they know what I am. They have been studying me, just as I have been studying them. He paused. They are building a weapon specifically designed to trap me, to contain me, to make me one of them forever. Yuna felt cold fear in her chest. What can we do? Send me out again. Before they finish building, your body cannot handle another transformation. The integration is already failing. If you go out there again, I might die, Do-hyun said. Or I might become something that cannot die, something that only hungers. Either way, the threat ends. The tank's liquid rippled as he moved. Slowly, painfully, Do-hyun pressed his hand against the glass. Tell the ambassador I am sorry, he said. Tell him I tried to stay human as long as I could. Before Yuna could respond, alarms filled the ship. The Hollow were moving. Their massive weapon was complete, and it was heading directly toward the Valari homeworld. There was no more time for goodbyes. Do-hyun was released from the tank. He walked through the ship on legs that did not quite bend the right way. Valari soldiers moved away from him in fear. Human soldiers saluted, their eyes full of something between respect and horror. At the airlock, he stopped. Sergeant Choi and Corporal Beak were waiting for him. We want to come with you, Choi said. Do-hyun shook his head. This is my hunt. My end? You two still have futures. Keep them. We are Fenris soldiers, Beak said. His voice shook, but he did not look away. We are already monsters. Do-hyun almost smiled. Almost. Not yet, he said. And maybe not ever, if I do this right. He put his hand on Beak's shoulder. The young man flinched at the cold touch, but did not pull away. Someone has to remember what we were. Someone has to tell the story of what we chose to become. Let that be you. He turned to Choi. Keep the others safe. Keep them human. Choi nodded once, her face hard as stone. Do-hyun stepped into the airlock. The door closed behind him. Through the small window, he looked back at the humans who had trusted him to save them. Then he stepped into space, and he let go. The transformation was faster this time. More painful. The hollow tissue inside him had grown stronger, and it fought against his control with every change. He felt his memories slipping away. His mother's face became unclear. His father's voice became quiet. The taste of home became dust, but he held on to one thing. One simple truth that the hollow could never understand. Humans do not stop. They get tired. They get hurt. They get scared. But they do not stop. He grew larger and darker and more terrible. He became something that the stars themselves seemed to fear. And he flew toward the hollow weapon with all the speed his monstrous body could produce. The weapon was waiting for him. It was shaped like a cage made of living flesh, large enough to hold a planet. The hollow had built it from their own bodies, millions of them sacrificing themselves to create a prison that could hold anything. They had studied him. They had learned from him. They had prepared for him. But they had forgotten one thing. They had learned human tactics, human strategies, human ways of fighting. They had not learned the human way of dying. Do-hyun did not try to destroy the cage. He did not try to escape it. Instead, he flew directly into it. The trap closed around him. The hollow flesh pressed against him from all sides. trying to absorb him, trying to make him part of the swarm. The collective intelligence of millions of ancient predators pushed against his mind, offering him peace, offering him belonging, offering him the end of his lonely war deep inside the monster. In the small place that still remembered being a man named Han Do-yoon, he made a choice. He stopped fighting the hollow tissue inside him. For one moment, he let it take control. And in that moment, he sent a message through the connection he shared with the swarm. Not words, not thoughts, something deeper, something that the hollow had absorbed from him without understanding. Human stubbornness, human defiance, human refusal to accept defeat. The cage shook. The hollow that formed it began to fight against each other, each one suddenly infected with the need to survive, the need to fight, the need to be an individual instead of part of a whole. The collective mind of the swarm fractured and Han Do-hyun, with the last of his strength, tore the cage apart from the inside. The explosion was visible from the flagship. A burst of light in the darkness, beautiful and terrible. When the light faded, the hollow swarm was gone, scattered, broken, fleeing in a million different directions, each one carrying a piece of humanity's stubborn will inside them. They would never be able to gather again. They would never be able to form a collective. The very thing that had made them unstoppable had been destroyed. Floating in the space where the cage had been, a single figure remained. Small now, human-shaped. Captain Han Do-yoon opened his eyes. They were brown again. Just brown. He was dying. He knew it. The hollow tissue was gone, burned out of him by the final effort. His human body, fragile and weak and precious, was all that remained. But he was smiling. Through his failing communicator, he sent one last message to the flagship. "Tell them," he whispered. "Tell them we are not weak. We are not prey. We are the thing that hunts." Then his eyes closed, and the hero of humanity drifted among the stars. 1 week later, the Galactic Assembly gave humanity everything they had asked for. Full membership, complete respect, a seat at the council, but the humans did not celebrate. They held a funeral instead. A small ceremony for a quiet man who had liked poetry and cooking. A man who had become a monster so others would not have to. Ambassador Park Tae-ho spoke the final words. He was human, Tae-ho said. Not because of what he was, but because of what he chose to be. He chose to fight. He chose to sacrifice. He chose to stay himself, even when everything in the universe was trying to change him. He looked up at the stars. That is what makes us human. Not our bodies, not our lifespans, not our strength or our weakness. It is our choice. Always our choice. Lieutenant Yuna, Sergeant Choi, and Corporal Beak stood together, their eyes wet but their backs straight. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, but more importantly, humanity had learned what they were willing to become and what they were willing to give up for each other, for their world, for the future. The stars waited. The darkness watched. And somewhere in the deep void, the scattered hollow carried human stubbornness in their broken minds. A warning to all who might threaten Earth. The monsters had met something worse than themselves. They had met humans.